Anne is Jersey City's current Poet Laureate, which is an incredible honor. And most recently, Anne and I worked together on a project called Her Story, an oratory play. It was sponsored by Council President Joyce Waterman. It was basically a celebration of women and their personal stories, overcoming lots of challenging situations and writing monologues about that. Anne participated in that as a writer, writing her personal story about long COVID, and also she helped me craft a lot of the stories of the women who participated.
I am a poet in Jersey City. I also curate a monthly open mic called Mocha Mic with Millie, and she was one of my features in November. Through Anne's work, it doesn't just talk about the grief and the pain of COVID, but also on the other side, that there is joy, there is relief, there is community, there's a way to come together.
My name is Abigail Birch, and I am Anne Wallace's daughter. I saw my mom go through some of the hardest struggles that I've ever seen a person go through. I saw her when I was young, going through vertigo and constant migraines, having to deal with doing medication every night. And then when COVID hit, I saw her and my sister completely deteriorate from who they were. My mom spent most of her days lying on the couch, just silent. I saw her working back to her original goals, where she started working towards running again, where she wanted to maybe get back to where she was, where she ran marathons before. Watching her both help herself and help me and my sister, that I've learned truly how strong she is and how much of a powerful woman and mother she is. And I can't imagine having to go through this alone, and I can't imagine dealing with this without her.
I'm very excited to see where this book goes, and hopefully it impacts a lot of people.
Anne and I worked together back when we were both much younger, and we shared a lot of fun and a lot of stories together. And we've watched Anne's journey and how she has become a leader and an outspoken advocate for people with chronic COVID and incredibly difficult health challenges.
I've been dealing with visible illnesses for a couple years now. Anne is extremely knowledgeable on the subject and with how to guide people through it and how to overcome all of the different challenges.
I don't know how you do it, Dr. Wallace. You're a remarkable human, and we are glad to know you. Congratulations.
How's that sound? Can you all hear me? Yay! First success of the evening. No, the first success of the evening is that you're all here. So thank you. Thank you all for coming to the launch for Days of Grace and Silence. Our cover artist, Scott Redden, is here. Can you raise your hand so people know who did this beautiful painting? I also wanted to thank Art House for hosting this, and the city, the Office of Cultural Affairs. This book, I think you all know, has been a long time in process, 4 years exactly, right? Because it started, yeah, I heard a whew, yes, it started in 2020. And that is a moment that, well, unlike any other. So the book, I think you all probably expect this, is rather heavy at times. There's a little lightness in it, there's some joy. It's also written in chronological order, taking you through the journey with me. The poems, especially in the first year, they're dated, like literally by date. And after that, I just put by season. So I am going to mostly read it in chronological order, but I'd like to start with a couple poems from the end that I wrote in spring 2023. It's been decades since my body held a narrative clear and simple. It turned to poetry long ago when a refrain emerged, was repeated with life interrupted once, then again and again. A poem always begins in the middle, or someplace nearby, because truly, have you ever tried telling a poet to begin at the beginning? When doctors ask me, or my daughters, how our illnesses began, oh, the poems we compose on paper-lined examination tables. Each one of us a stanza braided to the other, with no beginning and no end. The poet in me dares not ask if we are always muddling around in the endless looping middle of this story, how might we ever write our way out? And this book is my attempt to do that. Standing in a different place. This one's from spring 2022, and then I'm going to take us back. I have not strayed far from home, the tether of my oxygen held taut for too long, now flagging since a warm March lap around Walden Pond before it all shut down. And my home, and maybe yours too, became a pulsing hotbed of virus, of illness, for weeks, turned to months, to years. I have not strayed far, and yet the world has shifted on its axis, and I have too. I scan the once flat ground for a new toehold where I might find modest purchase, take a breath, and release my tether. Then engage these weary muscles, reach my hand up high from my precious ledge, groping for a new patch of solid ground. April 1st, 2020. For the house finches. I wonder if the house finches know that they own the yard this year. The cheery red-headed finches, the cardinals, sparrows, mourning doves, and the large lone pigeon who began visiting last week as I fell ill to peck beneath the feeder. All of them. They can have the yard this year, I think, as I heave myself off my couch, slip my feet into my empty red boots, pull a shawl around my shoulders, and stumble outside to offer them some food. This is called In Abundance, and somebody did say, I have a writing group that I'm part of, not my poetry group, but a different group I'm part of, and somebody wrote in summer 2020, they said, I'm writing from a place of abundance, and I thought, what the hell is that? And, like, I have no abundance, and then I thought, okay, let me find the abundance, and I did have abundance, so this is called An Abundance. This winter, spring, summer has been a long haul of suffering and silence, of sickbed days on repeat, lid life pared down to its essence, my attention focused on the fragile act of breathing in, then out for 4 beats. In, out, speaking, cooking, bathing, hefty efforts to be weighed each day, any one jettisoned for the other. Yet amid the scarcity, a stream of love, of care, has flowed in my small and quiet place within this small, solitary house of quarantine. From November of 2020, hunger. I suck in each brittle breath as my windpipe closes around the thin flow that sticks at the base of my throat, then sears into my waiting lungs. We call it air hunger. Is this what suffocation feels like? Or maybe drowning? I'm moving into 2021. As many of you know, Constantine is a funeral director. And so this is a poem about a body that I helped him prepare. Enamel. I held her hand cupped within mine, her brown fingers curled in permanent rest as I applied a fresh coat of enamel to her nails. I did not know the frail woman in the casket, though I wrapped her body in the fine sari her family brought, pulled silver bangles onto her wrists, and brushed her hair. And I held her cool hands in mine as I painted her nails, wondering when her skin had last been touched, in life and without worry. And I thought of the long viral months when my skin too was untouchable, and I pressed the warmth of my palm into hers. The empty casing. Imagine this. If you have planters of parsley or dill growing outside in a sunny spot, odds are good that you have tossed butterfly eggs onto your pasta with the garnish or mixed them into your salad. Just imagine. Have you ever seen the egg of a butterfly? Before caterpillar, before chrysalis, the minuscule sphere, a perfect glossy orb deposited by swallowtail or monarch or fritillary, and perched so delicately on a leaf or the whisper-thin stem of your garden herbs. I saw my first last summer. I watched as the brilliant swallowtail she visited daily for a spell found my bed of parsley. I searched for a week, leaf by leaf, until I spotted it, one perfect egg. How small, how fragile, how large my hands, my garden shears. The egg stood such small chance against a quick snip at mealtime, small chance against hot sun that can wither a wispy herb into a parched earth over a few dry days of drought. It is truly a wonder that we have any butterflies at all. But my patio egg, it defied the odds. It hatched under my protective gaze, grew fat off the parsley I did not eat, spun a home around itself. I watched and waited as it grew strong. Then one morning I found the empty, dry casing still stuck to the side of my clay planter. The butterfly, it was gone, flown away into its new life. Thank you.
I was going to ask you about the discipline it takes to write when you're feeling that ill, but clearly you have it, you did it. Did you feel like it was something that you really just had to do, like it was therapeutic on some level?
It's not because I'm a workaholic. You might say I am also that, but it is not. That's not really the reason. It's just, it is a way for me to process information. And it's also not the first illness I've written through. I had cancer when I was in college, and I have MS, and I've had other health issues. So I write about those. So I already knew, like that was already a habit for me.
Maybe we can take some questions from the audience.
Why are poems so important? Because I'm the type of person that never looks back. I always look forward. But it's so important to remember what went past. And your poems do that. It's really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's heavy, it's very moving, and I think everybody really appreciates you putting in the effort to put this all together and take us to that place with you.
Thank you.
Obviously, the audience was enamored by the poems and the poet. I myself found to completely appreciate the pace of Anne's work. The tone remind me of a time-lapse video. They slow you down, and as in a time-lapse video with a hummingbird where you begin to see the wings flapping, the way that she captures these small moments in her poetry, I was just deeply moved by her work.
This was a rather unfunny collection of poems, but the one time I laughed was, and it was
Tiger
that
King.
one, yeah. But we ended up talking about it anyway.
Right. Well, it's also an unexpected poem for me because I'm sure you don't think of me as a Tiger King watcher.
No, but that's not really like, all you had to do is reference
Right.
it. It didn't have to be about it.
No,
It was
no,
just that
exactly.
you-
It's, yeah.
All you had to do is reference it. So it's interesting that if you go through my collection of the, if you're looking at my book, The check mark is the one that I thought was going to be interesting to talk about, and then the star is one that you actually read. So that happened several times.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that there was a poem
Because I
that
didn't tell you that in advance what I was going to
I
read.
did not know in advance. So there was several times where there was a poem that I was like, ooh, I think I want her to talk about this one in particular.
I'm just so curious what other poems you had checked off.
Well, maybe we should check. You didn't actually read this one, but you could see I put a little frowny face.
I did read this one.
Oh, you did. Sorry.
I did.
I forgot to put a star by it. But I put a little frowny face by it.
Why is that? Is it sad?
It was very intense.
Yeah.
Is this what suffocation feels like? Or maybe drowning?
Yeah.
That was like... There's a lot of times in your poems where the reader feels your anguish, feels your discomfort.
Yeah.
And that's... that makes it very difficult, but also very relatable. You're just kind of describing it in a way that people can really, they can really understand.
Well, so many of these things, like people can't understand it if they haven't felt it. So I really wanted people to be able to know what that felt like. I wouldn't know what air hunger feels like if I hadn't experienced it. So I'm always thinking, like, how do I describe this? How do I make someone feel it with me?
That's what a poetry reading should really transform you in some way, to walk away from it saying, wow, that really opened me up to something I didn't expect to experience.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
Well, I hope that happened.